You know where.
Hold on a second.
The Lillian McDermott Show.
Here we go. Whoa.
We love, we fear. Bridges we burn. We make mistakes. Then we live and learn. When life gets tough and it seems like your best ain't good enough. If you're in need of hope, you know where I'll be. I'll be right here, right here. And when you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here, waiting for you.
This is the place you can always turn to when you need a friend. The Lillian McDermott Show. To reach out to Lillian, visit her on the web at whenyouneedafriend.com. Now let's all learn together. Here's Lillian McDermott.
Hello, my listeners. It's so nice to meet each other on the air on this beautiful best day ever. And for those of you who are new to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show, the purpose of the show is to provide a safe place where you can go to when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide alternative ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening friend, and my viewing friends will feel empowered to live the life of your dreams. I also want to encourage you to be open and consider learning a new truth. And today, I want to share that I have been learning some new truths about personal injury protection. And as you know, I was in a car accident, and that car accident has taught me some wonderful gifts and lessons. And someone who I trust in the Jacksonville area, because that's where my accident happened, was in the Jacksonville area, is Heath Brockwell. Because of the situation of the circumstances of the accident, for the first time ever, I thought I needed to get an attorney. And boy, did I luck out, because of all the places to get rear-ended, it had to be Jacksonville. On the first week, I started the Lillian McDermott Radio Show. And who else would I want to reach out to and represent me other than one of Lily's legal dream team favorites, Heath Brockwell. Attorney Heath Brockwell has been coaching me through this experience. And boy, do I have some things to say about personal injury protection and being a no-fault state. What the heck is that all about? Heath Brockwell of the Brockwell firm, and you can find him at thebrockwellfirm.com, is here to share and dispel all these rumors and myths and perhaps maybe ideas that we have that we are protected somehow if we just have personal injury protection. And since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I am so grateful that Heath Brockwell is here to do just that. Welcome, Heath, to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show.
Hi. Good to be here.
Again and again and again, because you are part of Lily's legal dream team, and who I called when I felt that I was concerned about my accident. Now, Lily's legal dream team started way before I got into the accident, but it turned out that it was kind of like a vision of, okay, who would I go to in the Jacksonville area if I needed someone? Why don't you share, Heath, what makes you different than any other attorney that handles personal injury?
Well, I have, during the course of my 23-year career, I've worked at bigger firms, and I've learned pros and cons of that. And for the past 7.5 years, I've been on my own. So I think I distinguish myself by giving very personal service. For example, when I get a new case, I meet with the client myself. I return my own calls. I have one full-time employee, but I don't hand my clients off to someone else. And I can take the case all the way to trial if necessary. I'm not just one of these firms that just takes a case and settles it quickly. And so I feel like that's how I distinguish myself.
Yeah, you stand beside me, and I've had it's been a load off my shoulders, knowing that you're taking care, you and Candy, because I've got to give Candy props, big props, because she has been wonderful to communicate with me as well. And she is your paralegal, your assistant, your right arm. She's been with you for how many years?
15 years.
15 years. So, go ahead.
Yeah, the majority of my career.
Yeah, absolutely. And she's also wonderful to calm me down if there's some situations that I am concerned about. In my situation, Heath, pretty quickly, within a short period of time, as you know, I love to do everything as natural as I possibly can. And just recently, I experienced an awareness that I did not know could ever happen. As I am going through not conventional treatment, I want to do conservative, holistic, something different. And so my chiropractic care is upper cervical. It's a different kind of chiropractor that doesn't. I don't go to the chiropractor every other day as a traditional chiropractor. She is doing different kinds of a process that is slow. One would think it's slow because you're going there once a week, but it's a process that doesn't require you to be there every other day. And so that makes it look like everything is good and possibly I'm much better than I am. But I want to share that I have 4 herniated discs, spinal compression, just found out I have a torn left shoulder. So these are things that I felt that my car insurance would help me out with, but it turns out, no, not so. So I want to do a show with Heath today about personal injury protection and what does a no-fault state mean to us and how can we protect ourselves. Worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. We're going to continue our conversation with Heath Brockwell.
I'll be right here waiting for you.
I tell you what, Heath, I feel no stress whatsoever knowing that you are handling it. Yeah. When I received that letter saying that they wanted to do an IME, and I want to talk about IMEs, and first we'll start with what does no fault mean, and then I'll share about the IME because that really has kind of sat pretty rotten in my tummy. And so I'm just releasing it, putting it out there to see if there's something we can do to change this, because we're one of 12 states, right? One of 12 states that has no fault.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like maybe even less than that. I don't know. I haven't researched it.
Well, I did a Google search, but I don't even know if my research is accurate. You would know better.
We're in the minority. I mean, there's only a few states left that have it.
Yeah. I don't understand it. I still don't understand it. And we're going to have this conversation on the air because I think it's so crucial that we become aware. Many of us are driving with this huge machine that, and we might be great drivers, but somebody could rear end you. So, okay. I just got a text. So for those of you who are listening, or if you have any questions for Heath, it's the Brockwell firm, and it's 904-372-4210. Candy's there to answer the phone if you need to. Anyway, 407-373-5959 if you have any questions for me. And I see that we're about to get started back on the air. So here we go. Right on cue.
A friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here waiting for you.
You can text Lillian McDermott or leave her a voicemail at 407-373-5959. Once again, here's Lillian.
Welcome back to the McDermott Radio Show, where we always learn from one another. Today's teacher is Heath Brockwell. He is my attorney. I'm going to be full disclosure from the accident I had back in June 8th, 2017. Found myself in a situation that I never found myself in. Someone accused me of coming out of nowhere when that didn't happen, and stopping my brakes in front of them when that didn't happen. And there were 3 people in their truck and only me on mine. And it really scared me. These things do happen. You might be a great driver, but somebody else may be distracted. And hey, you might be distracted too. But in this situation, not only was I sharing the truth, but other people saw me do what I said I did, which helped. But still, it left some form of, my goodness, if not only just one person had an alibi, 3 people. And I immediately called Heath Brockwell, and I want to encourage you to do the same. If you want to learn more about Heath, you can go to thebrockwellfirm.com. He is an attorney in Jacksonville Beach who I've known for over 9 years, and I trust completely, to the point where I didn't call anybody but him first. I was truly that scared for what could happen to me from these people who rear-ended me, didn't care what happened to me. They were just looking at their truck. And it really put me in a situation that I've never been before, and it was nice. And thank you, Heath, for being there for me at the source of the accident. Do you get people calling you from the accident?
Very rarely.
Only your dear friends.
Well, yeah. If it's a friend, that's pretty much the only situation where that would happen.
Yeah, but I knew that I needed you. And so let's talk about this no-fault state. What does it mean? Because I hope we start a movement today to stop no faults. Okay, so go ahead. What is no fault?
Well, yeah, there's only a handful of states in this country left to have a no-fault system. What no fault is, it's anyone who owns a vehicle in the state of Florida is required to have what's called personal injury protection insurance. That insurance is in place. You have to have that insurance, and it pays your bills up to $10,000. And however, there's a couple of wrinkles that were added to the law about 5 years ago. Now that they're trying to put some limitations on it, you have to have your treatment. You have to have some treatment initiated in the first 14 days of the collision in order to get that coverage at all. And then secondly, you have to have what's determined to be an emergency medical condition to get from $2,500 to $10,000. If you're not deemed to have an emergency medical condition, then you're capped at $2,500. An emergency medical condition can only be determined by a medical doctor, not a chiropractor. Some of these wrinkles have been put in because there's a lot of perceived fraud with PIP, with some doctors billing it. And I don't know all the ins and outs of that. I just know what the law is now, and they keep tinkering with it. And by the way, in terms of the movement, for the last several years in Tallahassee, they keep trying to either ditch PIP, get rid of it, or make further changes to it. The current proposal, I believe, is for mandatory bodily injury liability coverage and not having PIP at all. And PIP really was put in place back in the day, well before, of course, you had healthcare. You have these provisions that people can get healthcare more easily now, and so there really is less and less reason to have PIP, in my opinion. But it's the law as it stands now, and as you've learned, there's things that can be done to cut off your PIP benefits as well. Well,
here's the thing. There are some, what I would call, because I used to work in the imaging industry, and that's how I met Heath. Heath and I met in Jacksonville at a Christmas party back in 2009, and we became instant friends at that point. And boy, have I learned so much from you, Heath. And so what happened was, at that time, when it comes to personal injury protection, or there were a lot of clinics that were popping up. There were a lot of doctors who were coming from down south and opening clinics that were solely to exacerbate the PIP. And they would take care of the patient solely to pad their pockets. And so I can understand that there are clinics out there that see you 3 times a week. And within 2 weeks, some of these clinics were exacerbating the $10,000 PIP. And so I made sure that when I worked with somebody in the imaging center, when I was working on that side, I helped coach people to go to good doctors, go to good lawyers, because you could really not just get injured in the accident, but get injured by the doctor who's trying to make a lot of money in a very short period of time. Fortunately, hopefully, there are few of those, but you know which ones they are by the bill. So with me, as you know, my listening friends, I'm all about natural, holistic. I want to do things that are going to be easier on my body. And I opted to do something different that most people don't do. So Heath, because I was going to the chiropractor, the upper cervical chiropractor, once a week, I received a notice saying it was an IME, an independent medical evaluation. And my chiropractic was cut off by my insurance because I'm still, after 6 months, still haven't exasperated exhausted my PIP. And so because of that, they're thinking that I'm not injured. Is that what it is?
Well, first of all, understand that every automobile insurance policy in this state has a provision that allows your insurance company to have you seen for what's called an IME, as you said, independent medical evaluation. That is a doctor that your insurance company is paying to evaluate your bills and your treatment thus far. And in practical terms, they used it to cut off your benefits, which is what happened with you.
Yeah.
They sent you to the IME, I think 4 or 5 months after the collision, and they had this doctor review everything and evaluate you and determine that you didn't need any more chiropractic care. And then, so that's another way that your insurance company isn't always looking out for your best interests.
I don't understand why they would think I don't need chiropractic care. I have 4 herniated discs, and I now discovered this week that I have a torn tendon in my shoulder from this accident. You know, they hit me pretty hard, even though they did not admit to me that they did anything. They still were found at fault. The driver was found at fault. And not only that, they, other than paying to repair my car, have not incurred any expenses. I've incurred 20% of my chiropractic care because my chiropractor doesn't normally deal with personal injury protection or automobile cases, but because I'd been seeing her as a maintenance or whatever, she makes the exception, but she still charges me 20%. How can we avoid that 20%? How can we, when does the person who hit me or the insurance for who hit me start paying for my expenses?
Yeah, I'll answer that in 2 parts. So the first thing, going back to PIP, it is the most common thing in my practice, and it happened again this week. I got a new case. A client came in. It's hard for people to understand that you get, in your case, and in this woman's case, you get rear-ended. It's someone else's fault, clearly. Your bills have to first go to your insurance company, which a lot of people have a problem with. That's the other problem with this PIP.
Absolutely. I do not like that.
Yeah, and no one does, I assure you. And then, what a lot of people don't understand is your PIP only pays 80%, which is what you're talking about.
Yes.
And that's the only thing that's required. However, what a lot of people are not advised by their agent is that you can purchase what's called medical payments coverage in addition to the PIP. It's optional. It's not required. It's just not always pushed. That pays the 20%. And that pays the 20% up to another $5,000. So you can get, and the med pay premium is very low. It doesn't cost much at all to add the med pay coverage to your policy. So I would advise anyone who's getting auto insurance to buy that additional med pay, because then you have up to $15,000 of coverage that pays it 100%. And you can get even more med pay. You can get 10,000 of med pay, so give me 20,000 coverage. And so that's how you handle that. The second part, the reason people come to me is this. First of all, your PIP probably is only going to pay 80% of your bills if you don't have the med pay. And so if you get hit by someone and you're found to have a permanent impairment, you make a claim. We're making a claim against the at-fault party and their insurance company for what's called your pain and suffering and your out-of-pockets. Mm-hmm. However, that's only handled in a lump sum type of settlement at the end of your case. So that's the other problem people conceptually have a problem with. the at-fault insurance company, in your case, that they took care of your car, and that's done up front. But they don't pay anything. They don't pay this 20% that accrues every week as you're getting treatment. The 20% accrues is outstanding. Now, most doctors, if a lawyer's involved, they will just hold that, and we pay them out of the settlement, once the case settles. But that's not always the case. And so that's something you're left holding the bag potentially on. And there's a lot of things like that this is why people pursue the at-fault driver.
Okay. So here I am. I obviously was injured in this accident.
Right.
My insurance that knows that I was injured decided to evaluate me to make sure that I'm not going and having frivolous treatments. And as a result, I get punished for something that I was not at fault in. And the other person's insurance doesn't say, okay, now that you've been cut off of that, let's step in and help you out here.
Yeah.
Let's pay for it. I mean, it would be nice if they could at least come in and say, okay, we need for you to continue this treatment, even though it doesn't fall under the typical chiropractic guidelines. We're going to fit in. I mean, is there anything we can do to get them to start paying, even though, I still haven't exhausted my PIP after 6 months later.
Right. Well, the issue with this IME is just, first of all, it's a total misnomer. It's not independent. They're hiring a doctor basically to cut off your benefits. Let's be clear.
Exactly right. And the people, I want to add, the doctors that saw me didn't even examine me, but they told my insurance that I did not need any more treatment. Yeah,
they spend 10, 15 minutes evaluating you, and then they cut off your benefits. So, but here's the thing, that can be challenged. What your listeners need to understand is that we don't let your insurance company get away with that. We can sue them, but it's a separate litigation. We can sue them for breaching your auto insurance contract, for cutting off your benefits when they shouldn't have, based on your injuries. But that's a whole separate, case that we have to pursue. We have to now potentially sue your insurance company for cutting off your benefits too early, and then we have a separate case against the at-fault driver, which is not for you. I've known you for a long time. You're not a litigious person. Now you're going to get forced basically into two different legal claims because your insurance company is not doing the right thing and they cut off your benefit.
Yeah, and if they were to just, call you and say, why is she going once a week? Now, if I were going 3 times a week, they probably wouldn't have cut off my insurance. It's not something that I feel is right. It's who is it right for? If I am in an automobile accident, obviously, if I'm at fault, I can understand that. But if somebody else is at fault, then they need to stand up and take responsibility. And we're going to continue talking to Heath Brockwell of the Brockwell firm in Jacksonville Beach when we return worldwide at whenyounneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you. It still gets me upset.
I'll be right here waiting for you.
I don't get it, Heath. I really don't get it. And it just... Hold on. I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
They still bill your auto insurance.
The what? I'm sorry?
They have to still bill your auto insurance, and it has to be denied. That's what gives us the right to then sue them for breach of contract.
Yeah, but I hate suing my insurance.
I'm telling you, if you want me to do something about it, I have to have a breach, which means I have to have them denying the bill.
Oh, yeah. I understand
based on IME.
Yeah, I understand the protocol and the thing that needs to follow, but who likes to sue anybody?
And by the way, that is almost always a winner because the few people that actually pursue them for breach, they almost always roll over on that, and then they'll pay.
Yeah,
but force us to go through this process.
Yes, exactly. Well, it's been an educational process to say the least.
Frustrating, yeah.
There's
a lawyer right down the street here, and that's all they do. That they only do PIP suits. That their whole business models. So that's how much this happens. They're suing the auto insurance company.
Yeah. I remember when Robert was rear-ended. They cut off his, after like 3 months, they cut off his chiropractic care. And after 3 months, he just stopped going, and a lot of people just stopped going. And
do it. That's right. Because they figure, it's a numbers game. Most people don't just stop treating, and then they win. Insurance company wins. It's just, it's very frustrating.
So,
and this is unusual too. In my case, I don't see a lot of IME cutoffs. So unfortunately, you're in that small percentage.
And it's because, and I was talking to my chiropractor who only deals with the upper, she doesn't do any adjustments. She does trigger point. She does all of that. But I was talking to her, and we deduced from this that the fact that I go once a week, they probably think, she's almost done at the end of her treatment. Most chiropractors have you go 3 times, 4 times a week.
Right. That could have triggered it. Or if they deemed that specific kind of treatment is maybe not the mainstream, that could have triggered them saying, well, we may want to take a look at this. Because you're saying upper cervical, I don't know, maybe they deem that as a little out of the ordinary. Maybe that's why they decided.
Well, what I understand about upper cervical, that's how chiropractic started. And then the son of the person said, "Oh, let's just work on the entire spine." So there was a division in chiropractic.
Yeah.
So some
too that just do the upper cervical.
That's right. And so they say that if your C1 is out of balance, your whole spine is out of balance. And so they focus on one, and that's what they do. That's what they do. Okay.
Right.
And so I see that we are ready to get back. Thank you, Brian, for keeping me honest.
When you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here waiting for you.
You can text Lillian McDermott or leave her a voicemail at 407-373-5959. Once again, here's Lillian.
Welcome back to the Radio Show, where we can be heard worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. I am your host, Lillian McDermott, and it is my goal that we learn from each other. Each day go through life with childlike wonder. And our teacher today is Heath Brockwell of the Brockwell Firm. And you can find him at 904-372-4210. His number is 904-372-4210. You can find this information if you're driving and you want to learn. Go to whenyouneedafriend.com. Go to my sponsors page that I always talk about. Go to my sponsorship page at whenyouneedafriend.com and support them the way they support me. And every single one of my sponsors goes through a lot of research because I want to make sure they're aligned with the show. They have to be like-minded in order for them to be sponsored. Not everybody can be a sponsor, but the ones that are sponsors are the ones that I truly believe in, and they believe on the show as well. And I'm excited that Heath Brockwell is not only a sponsor, he's a friend of mine, someone I trust, and I just very thrilled that once the show moved up to Jacksonville, we could work together once again. And so he is at 2029 North 3rd Street in Jacksonville Beach. And again, his number is 904-372-4210, and he's at thebrockwellfirm.com. And for those of you who have been ever in an accident or have been injured, he is someone that, hands down, if you need a friendly referral, you got one with me, with Heath Brockwell. This is a place where we take 100% responsibility. This is a place where I believe that we are responsible in a way that's not about blame, shame, fault, or duty. It's about that leads to empowerment and freedom. And this is the same language that Heath Brockwell speaks. As a matter of fact, can I share that, Heath?
Yes.
That he went through the same program when I became a life coach. He went through that same program alongside, and I was so proud of him to go through this and be open to consider his own personal growth. So, Heath and I have been friends in so many different ways, so many different we were meant to be friends forever, and I'm just so grateful that he is now here on the show with me. So I want to make sure that you check out his page, support him the way he's supporting the show, and also please become a subscriber, because when you become a subscriber, This is how we join this movement of making a difference, of supporting each other, because we are all one. What happens to you happens to me. And once you become aware of something, then it is our duty. It is our duty, not into shame, to just stand together as one. So go to whenyounneedafriend.com, become a subscriber, check out all the buttons that I have there on YouTube, social media, like me there, and you can listen to my podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio. Now I'm on Spotify. And so for those of you who like Spotify, they reached out to us and said, we're ready for you. So I'm excited about that. Again, you can call or text 407-373-5959. And when you call Heath, you let him know Lilly sent you, so that he knows that it's a friend of mine too. So Heath, we're talking about, I don't know what I'm most upset about. And when I say upset, it's like I want to do something different. I want to make a change or create change here, because I should not pay for someone hitting me at all. I should not incur a dime of expense because somebody was adjusting their radio or somebody was not paying attention. And I know accidents do happen, but here's the thing. Not only have they cut off my chiropractic care, I now need to pursue a suit against my insurance. But if they decide, I could end up without insurance myself because somebody else hit me. I don't get it. I don't get why this no fault. You're either at fault or you're not. How can we justify this no fault stuff?
I can't. I mean, it's a horrible system. And what we can do, what all of your listeners can do, is we can encourage our legislatures to pass the bill that is, I think, made it through one of the chambers there in Tallahassee. There's a proposal to go with mandatory bodily injury liability coverage, which means that anyone that owns a car has to have liability coverage if they cause injury to another. Now, the reason that's important is because guess what? In addition to this crazy PIP no fault law we have, a person is not required to carry any coverage for bodily injury liability. The only thing required by the state of Florida now is PIP, which pays your own medical bills to 80%, as we discussed, and then property damage liability, which only covers if you damage someone else's car. Mm-hmm. And so that's a huge problem. I mean, it's the luck of the draw now. You were fortunate from the standpoint you got hit by a commercial vehicle, so there's plenty of liability insurance. But guess what? You could have been hit by someone that could have been fully compliant with the law, but not carried any coverage for your liability coverage for your injuries, in which case you'd have no recourse other than just your bills getting paid at 80%. You'd be left holding the bag for the 20%. That's why another thing I want to encourage all of your listeners to do is everyone needs to buy uninsured UM coverage or underinsured UM coverage, because the state of the law right now is that you're not required to carry coverage. So if you could get hit by someone that has no liability coverage, and then your only recourse would be to turn to your insurance company and pursue what's called an uninsured motorist claim. It also is important because it's also called underinsured motorist coverage, because a lot of times you may get hit by someone that has liability coverage, but it may be only $10,000 of liability coverage. And oftentimes the nature of your kind of injury claim, the case can be worth more than $10,000. And so then what you do in that case is you can potentially collect the $10,000 from the at-fault driver, and then you can turn to your insurance company and say, hey, listen, the guy that hit me was underinsured, so I'm now making a claim for my underinsured benefits. And that's very important to carry that UM coverage, because you're not required to carry liability coverage. And so right now, I'm hoping that they will pass this time. They've been trying for years. I hope that they pass a requirement for everyone to carry liability coverage, and then just ditch the PIP system, which is fraught with problems, as you've learned personally.
I have learned that personally. Yeah. So now I'm an advocate for no PIP. I have friends that are attorneys that fight for PIP. We are one of 12. I was looking at doing some research on it, one of 12 states that carry it. And I am hoping that we'll be joining the other side on this one, because it just doesn't make sense to me that I would get rear-ended it's clearly they were found at fault. I have 4 herniated discs, spinal compression, left torn tendon from this, which we just discovered. But yet my insurance, the one that's supposed to protect me and that I carry and I pay faithfully, has cut off my chiropractic benefits because they can deem it, what is it, customary? What was it that you were saying? Usual and necessary?
Necessary, yeah. Well, typically, almost always, when I see an IME report, they will come to the conclusion that all of your treatment so far has been reasonable and necessary, but no treatment in the future is deemed reasonable and necessary. And
they're not going to pay anymore, and that's basically
right. That's right.
You would think that in a situation like that, then the other side would take it over, but that's not what happens. Now you're saying that they're looking at liability insurance. But if they're going to do that with personal injury insurance, which is they can cut off my benefits at any time, what are they going to do with underinsured? And if I'm paying for underinsured, which I do, or underinsured, what is going to keep them from cutting off my insurance if they deem it not necessary?
Well, they don't have that IME provision under the UM portion of the policy.
Oh, so that's good to know.
So that they can't do that same thing as they do with PIP. There is an IME provision if like, say, if we were to file a lawsuit in your case, then there is also a provision that the other side can have you seen by an IME, one of their doctors. And then he'll come to very different conclusions than your treating doctors. And they use that to minimize what they will pay on your liability claim. So that's the other IME issue.
Oh, my gosh.
That would happen, say, if we file, like I said, if we file a suit and we get farther down the road. They usually don't order one until you get close to trial. But, yeah, that's another little nuance of the law that is used to limit what insurance companies pay.
Okay, so you talk about going to legislature to change this around, and that there's, people are making progress to eliminate personal injury protection. But here we go. What's going to happen when we don't have personal injury protection? Would it all fall under a letter of protection? And maybe we can talk about letter of protection when we return. I don't know if that's going to be too long.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, because, but no, I'm not.
Health insurance letter of protection would be the way you'd have to go then. With PIP's gone, you either go through your health insurance or you go under letter of protection, which a letter of protection, just briefly, is a letter from the lawyer that says to the doctor, we will pay your bills out of the settlement if and when there's a settlement. Okay, so we'll let that be the final word for now. And we're going to continue our conversation with Heath Brockwell of the Brockwell Law Firm, or the Brockwell Firm, when we return worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you. I'll be right here. Okay. Okay, here we go, Heath. We are ready to do our last dance. When you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here waiting for you.
You can text Lillian McDermott or leave her a voicemail at 407-373-5959. Once again, here's Lillian.
And welcome back to the McDermott Radio Show, where we always learn from one another. And today's teacher is my friend, attorney Heath Brockwell of the Brockwell Firm. You can find him at thebrockwellfirm.com. You can also call him at 904-372-4210, and he is located at 2029 North 3rd Street in Jacksonville Beach. For those of you who want to learn more and you're driving and you can't write all this down, if you go to whenyouneedafriend.com, go to my sponsors page. He is part of Lily's Legal Dream Team. We have part of the Legal Dream Team is personal injury, of course, workers' comp, family law, and criminal defense law. And we have wonderful attorneys that you are able to call them directly, and you're not a number. You're not one of 250 clients or more that is being filtered through a bunch of, and hey, legal helpers, assistant for the attorneys are very important. Paralegals, they're very important. But to have that hand holding by your attorney is priceless. So Lilly's Legal Dream Team was created because of that. Many of these attorneys don't advertise because they are out there, meeting the people and helping them out. So Heath Brockwell is one of those, part of my legal defense team, my legal dream team, and I'm grateful that you are a part of it, Heath. Thank you. So as we go forward with this learning experience, because I really believe things happen for a reason. I didn't understand this process as well as I do now, especially with the circumstances surrounding my case. So at this point, my position is I hate PIP. I don't say I hate anything, but I dislike it intensely. This is the first time I'm going to actually say it on the air because I don't feel that it's protecting the person who's been violated or in the accident. So if you're not this no-fault state, Heath, I don't understand it. I still don't understand it. That if somebody hits me, they're clearly at fault. Why would we be no fault?
It's a way to make sure that if someone gets in a car collision, that they have coverage to pay their bills. Now, obviously, it doesn't always work out that way. But if you own a car in Florida, one thing we know for sure under PIP is that you have up to $10,000 potentially to pay your bills. But of course, the caveats are it could be capped at $2,500, or it only pays 80%. Sometimes there's a deductible on the PIP coverage. So, but the whole rationale is to ensure that people have coverage to pay for medical treatment if they're in a car accident.
Yeah, but in that situation, it takes away the responsibility of the person who was at fault, that was fined at fault. So that
Right.
$10,000 to me means nothing when they have the power to, now my insurance has to fork over money for something
Right.
that wasn't my fault, and then I get penalized because someone hit me and I sought treatment.
Yeah, and you may or may not ever be able to collect anything from the person that caused the collision because bodily injury liability coverage is not required. So we need to encourage our legislatures in Tallahassee to pass this bill that's on the floor now that requires bodily injury liability coverage and gets rid of PIP. That's a good thing, in my opinion. That's the direction we need to get. But let me just be sure so your listeners understand. Right now, with PIP in place, just keep in mind, you have to get treatment within the first 14 days to get any of your PIP coverage. And you have to have an emergency medical condition to get above from $2,500 to $10,000. And so that's very important. It's also important for your listeners to see a doctor that specializes in treating people who have been in car accidents. The reason that's important is because if you get your primary care doctor, they're going to turn you away.
Yep.
And I'll refer you out for physical therapy or give you a script for something. You don't want that. You want treatment that's going to actually help you to get better. So those are the things, I think those are just the keys that you need to remember. And that's whether or not we have PIP or not. The 14-day thing is a PIP requirement, but you always, regardless of PIP or no PIP, you want to see a doctor that specializes in treating people.
Yeah,
you need to contact a lawyer pretty early on, too, because of all the things that have come up in your case.
Yes, absolutely. It was probably the best thing because I was telling Heath during the break, normally I don't have time to deal with an accident. Who has time to deal with an accident? So, I know that Heath is acting on my behalf. And so, and that you have my back and you'll take care of me. And this is where I don't understand the ins and out of personal injury. And all I know is that, I was supposed to get checked at a certain time by an MD. And if you get checked within 14 days, right, you have to be by an MD. You could go to a chiropractor, but that does not count as that 14-day marker unless you see an MD.
No, that's not correct.
Not correct?
You can see any doctor within the 14 days. But I know what you're talking about. The MD issue is the emergency medical condition.
That's right. That's right.
That can only be determined by a medical doctor, an MD. To not get you from the 2,500 to the 10,000.
But isn't there a time limitation?
Not on the emergency medical condition. It needs to be done sooner in the case, but the only time limitation is the 14 days, and that's just initiating any treatment with any type of doctor. That has to be within the 14 days.
Got it. I did not know that.
For the emergency medical condition, there's no time requirement for that.
Okay. So that within the 14 days, that will give you the 2,500.
Yeah, at least that. But I mean, and then you have to have an emergency medical condition to get from the 2,500 to the 10,000.
Okay. That's good to know. I'm glad that you clarified that for me because I did not realize that 14. I thought it was 14 days to see an MD, not necessarily a chiropractor or.
That can be a chiropractor. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
The ER would count. Just some initial treatment.
Yes. Okay. So let's clarify here because, most people think that if it's a fender bender or there's no injury there's no problems to your car, like you get hit and it's like no big deal, and then all of a sudden about a week later you start feeling some pain. I mean, how, even if it's a fender bender or a tiny little bumper where your car doesn't even get damaged, what do you suggest we do in a situation like that?
Well, you always need to get checked out right away because, and let me tell you, I've seen this many, many times over the years, and there's lots of studies that speak to this very issue. The defense, the insurance companies love to make a big deal about, you don't have much damage to your car, therefore we don't think you're that injured. However, there's lots of studies that say that regardless of the damage to the car, when you get hit from the rear end, in the rear end of your car, then the energy is transferred to the body, and the body moves forward and backwards, and you can very easily sustain a serious injury, regardless of the damage to the back of your car. So that's a battle we always fight. But I would say to your listeners, never let that discourage you from getting treatment. That there's only a dent in the back of your car, because the thing is, you don't know. And often what does happen is, first day you may feel fine, and a few days later you start to have issues. And these soft tissue injuries can't be seen on an X-ray, but rest assured, if you damage the soft tissue around the spine, that's going to cause you problems for quite some time. Not everyone, but often that is what we see in these cases.
Yeah. Well, Heath, I'm really excited that you are not only a sponsor of the show, but that I know that I have someone representing me that I trust, that I've known for a long time, and I'm really excited to discover what else is going to happen. And I hope that somehow the show will make a difference to get people saying, you know what, I don't like PIP either. I was in an accident and my insurance dropped me because I filed a claim. So those things are happening, and it's not benefiting us, the consumer. So thank you so much for everything that you do to make sure that we are truly protected.
Happy to do it.
Any last minute words of wisdom by Mr. Heath Brockwell?
Get as much coverage as you can afford.
Yes.
There's a lot of people no insurance.
And MedPay too. That was a great tip. And to you, my listening friend, if it's a no-fault state, then who takes responsibility? Think about it. It's just my opinion, but I think something needs to change here. Please remember, I'll be right here waiting for you worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. This is Lillian McDermott wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever. Good job, Heath.